What's going on, guys? This is Qazi. Welcome to another epic video in the Industry Pro series. This time, I'm going to be interviewing Kinan. He's a friend and one of my favorite colorists. The value bombs that he drops and the knowledge that he shares in this video seriously could be its own mini masterclass. So genuinely, I say this always, but I mean it this time. Grab a notepad because you will need it. If you're a beginner filmmaker who wants to make their work stand out, color grading is one of the most effective ways to do that. If you're coming from Premiere Pro or Final Cut 10, then looking at a node-based software like Resolve will just confuse the heck out of you. In this free training, you're not only gonna learn everything about nodes, you will also learn to build the perfect node tree regardless of the project that you're working on. I will end the session with an extended Q&A. These questions came from you guys. Click the link in the description to sign up for this free training. And guys, if you're enjoying the content, you know what to do. Smash that like button, subscribe to my channel for more awesomeness. Make sure to follow me on Instagram. Let's roll the intro.
Hey, Kazi, how you doing?
What's going on, brother?
Good to see you, man.
Dude,
The volume.
look at your background, man. It's like green screen. I want this.
I figured some production design would make it look a little nicer.
Dude, is it graded? It has like a nice little glowy effect going on.
Dude, I'm glad we're doing this. We've been talking about this for a while, and I'm glad we were able to find the time.
I know, brother. I'm so excited. Thank you so much for taking the time. Do you want to take a second and just, tell people, before you even get into what you're doing right now, just give us like a bullet point, kind of like a backstory.
Sure. Yeah, so I've been doing this for about 6 years now. This is actually my first and only job that I've ever had. I started towards the end of senior year of high school, and I've just been I took any and everything that I can get my hands on. And a few of my friends had went to Chapman University, and they have a really good film program. So I would just sneak into some of their classes, attend the lectures, and I would just like set up shop at their editing bays, and just color all their student films, everything that I could basically get my hands on. And eventually, just taking on more and more jobs, things kind of snowballed. Eventually got an office in LA, started working from there, then built a slightly bigger one, had clients coming in. And then when COVID hit everyone, I just pivoted and moved back to Orange County. And this is where I'm at right now. And this is where I'll probably keep working from moving forward.
I'm in Irvine. Like, why aren't we hanging out? Why aren't we in the
No
same
way.
place? What is happening?
We're neighbors. That's awesome. I'm in Tustin. That's awesome.
Dude.
Yeah. How do you like? I thought I was the only crazy one to do this, but I'm glad I found another colorist. How's your experience been working from
I
Orange
can't,
County?
like, first of all, I get a gig up, gig down, so I got fiber internet, which is like faster than somebody walking from their office to check it out,
Yeah.
in my bay. Like, I can just shoot them like a 40 gig file. So that's
Yeah.
one. Two,
Mhm.
the lifestyle here, man. There's this
Yeah.
calm, that you need to then just go 110%, so like
Totally.
you balance it out. I wouldn't change it for the world. My wife
Yeah.
is, crazy about Irvine, and it's like we've been here for 3 years, and I think it's the best place.
Yeah.
I mean, I've traveled so much in this country, and I feel like this is one of the best places. Period.
Yeah.
Like,
Nothing beats it. Yeah.
You
Totally. And especially for what we do. I mean, it's an art. You have to be, if you're in the stress of LA and in the middle of the industry and all the BS that goes on with that, I feel like it hurts more than it helps. And I feel like just having that separation, being away from everyone, all the noise, gives you a better perspective and lets you kind of focus on the work, which is, to be creative and be artistic.
Dude, 1,000,000,000%. So let's talk about it, because that's one of the questions that I wanted to ask you to bring a different perspective to people too. You said because of COVID, like, you took that as a sign opportunity and moved to Orange County. So how is it for business? Like, is it night and day, or is it still pretty good? Like, how are you handling it?
To be honest with you, what I noticed and what my clients also notice is working from home, the quality of my work literally skyrocketed, because just
Jeez.
like, it's just like I'll grade a couple of shots, go downstairs, like water my plants. It's just having that kind of personal space and that personal workflow away from like just the way things are traditionally done. It really gave me a fresh perspective. And I think so far I've really been enjoying it, and the work is still getting done. People are still getting their projects delivered, and no one has been complaining. So I think I'm taking it as a sign that I think this is kind of the future. this kind of remote workflow, and they've never been this easy.
Dude,
With Streambox, Frame.io, there's literally no excuse or reason for supervised sessions anymore, in my opinion.
no, dude, I couldn't agree more. I feel like the old school, like, come in, punch in, like 9 to 5 thing just has to go, especially for creatives. I've never once in my life got creative on command. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that I can't get in the gear, but it almost like just, give me my space, like let me do my rituals and then I'm going in. Like I'm going 100%. And I feel like so much of it is it changing, right? Like, I mean, I have an 18-year-old son, so I mean, he just said, he's like, hey, dude, I was hanging out with my buddies and one of my buddies was doing DoorDash. So I said, hey, let me give it a shot. He fills out the application on the app, gets approved within 24 hours. And he's door dashing. He's already made $100 in the last 2 days.
That's awesome.
And I'm just like, dude, what is this life? I'm like, bro, my first job in college at help desk was $7 an hour. And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do with all this money? I had to show up. I had to be there. I had to be at my best behavior. And, like working at a security job, like we did so much. And it's like the world is changing, but it's for the better because everybody is going in with such a positive attitude. Like this dude is actually looking forward to leave the house to go DoorDash because it gives him something to do. He does it at his own time. And then he came back yesterday early and he was like, hey, bro, do you want to watch something? I'm like, what do you want to watch? And he's like, let's watch Snatch. And at like 3 p.m., like I'm like, okay, like, let me just stop work for a couple of hours. We can do that. And these things are so important. And then when I got back to working, I was working till 1 a.m. But what I'm saying is that right there, people need to understand that humans work really well when you put some faith in them and just, give them the benefit of the doubt.
Well, and I think it's important to, like you said, you need to have your ritual. You need to have you need to have an environment that lets you be creative. And I feel like a lot of times we try to kind of force things, try to follow kind of what the industry wants you to do or what clients are pushing you to do. And a lot of times what I find is clients want you to do certain things a certain way just because that's how they're used to doing it, not because that's actually the right way to do it. And I feel like as a colorist, part of our job is to be able to have that, that other perspective that maybe they're not thinking about. And be able to tell them, hey, no, this workflow doesn't work for me. I'm not going to be able to give you the product that, the best possible product that you can get out of this project. And I felt like with this, with this new lifestyle with COVID, I felt like it's a great opportunity because everyone is forced to do it. Like there's no one else. You don't have to worry about competition or anything. Everyone is remote. So I'm taking the time to transition everyone to that and just trying to come up with, as many ways to improve the workflow, but still maintain this new kind of,
Dude, I couldn't agree more with you. I have to ask you, dude, I did not know. I knew you were young. I didn't know you were that young. It's out of control. Like, it's really crazy with the kind of work that you put out. So that takes me back to my point behind there's a old school colorist and there's a new wave of colorists, right? Like the new wave is like, let's cook up a jambalaya. Let's throw everything in there and like, let's see what comes on the other side. Where the old school people are like, Qazi, you should stop talking. Like, don't ever, have the reason to wake up in the morning. You don't know anything. Like, don't color. You don't know. Back in my day, blah, blah, blah. My grandpa held the film and I did. You know what I mean? That whole thing. So it's like, when I look at your work and what you're putting out, it's like the work will speak for itself. When I was a bad colorist, when I first started out and I didn't know what I was doing, I would like rebuttal with everyone, right? I would do something and I would show it to my wife and she'll look at it and she'll be like, what am I looking at? And I'll be like, what? I just spent 7 hours on this. Like, let me show you how it looked before, blah, blah, blah. She's like, I don't care about before. I take pictures with my Canon 5D Mark II and they look great. And I'm like, no, baby, you got to put it in flat profiles and bring it in and let me show you a few things. So what I'm saying is that proof is in the pudding. It's so important. And when I look at your work, dude, I don't care if you're 17. I don't care if you're 26. I don't care if you're 78. I don't care if you went to Harvard and created some kind of color science for yourself. It is amazing, right? So,
appreciate it.
So what is that? Like, I mean, is it like, let me download Davinci Resolve and start playing with it? Are you self-taught? Did you took some boot camps that just like unshackled something in your head? Like, talk about it.
Yeah. So for me, when it really started, I was doing a lot of editing and visual effects. And that really caught my attention and got me interested in kind of post-production in general and filmmaking. And then when I started working on more like student film sets, just creating student projects, I would get exposed to, I would work on set sometimes. So for a moment, I thought I wanted to be a cinematographer. So I would like shoot some stuff sometimes, and then I would color it myself, edit it. And things that I never thought that this would be what I was going to be focusing on. At some point it was cinematographer, and then it was director, and then it was business. I just experimented, tried a bunch of stuff, and then noticed just color. There weren't that many people doing it on the freelance level. Like it was either you pay $1,500 an hour at the
Yes.
big studios, or
Yes.
not that many options.
Yes.
And I just kept doing it, and slowly, the editing and the VFX kind of faded away. And that's kind of, and Instagram did help a lot, just getting my name out there, showcasing my work. It was, I get hit up way more from Instagram than from my website, or from, it's like social media and referrals. That's basically
What's
it.
a website? You know what I mean? Like, I mean,
It doesn't,
like,
no one, yeah.
dude,
So
I spent so long building my website. It has to be pixel perfect.
yeah.
We're going back and forth. I'm paying this girl thousands of dollars. Like, that's before I have clients coming in, and I'm
Yeah.
like building like this website is gonna like hit on like company 3, blah blah. It's gonna be the best thing. Period.
Yeah.
All that.
Yeah.
And then I'm just like, 1 month go by. I'm like looking at my wife. I'm like, where are the clients? Like, where are all these people that are going to find out? They're going to just go on Google, type in Amazon, and my website is going to pop
Yeah.
up. And they're going to be like, whoa, dude.
Pretty much. Yeah. I mean, and it's like going back to your earlier point, I think there is this older generation of colorists that kind of, they came up, they spent 25 years, 30 years doing something a certain way. And it kind of upsets them to see someone doing something different or a different workflow, and they kind of want to force their knowledge on you. But at the end of the day, people are watching content on their phones with True Tone display on or night shift while they're in the bathrooms or outside in the sun. It doesn't matter if you spend 7 hours or 8 hours finessing like 0.5% grain.
Yes.
Viewers don't give a shit. At the end of the day,
love it. I love you, dude.
at the end of the day, it's like play around with the image, come up with something that looks good, and focus on the big picture, which is if it's commercial, you're trying to sell the product. If it's music video, showcase the artist as much as possible. But to me, these are the only things that matter, and everything in between to the viewer doesn't. And I feel like a lot of times, we get caught up in the art too much.
Yes.
And I feel like it's our job as colorists to kind of be the middleman between viewers and the film and the client, and kind of take creative direction from the filmmakers and interpret it in a way that actually supports the vision of the client, and not just focusing on minor details that don't really make a difference.
Dude, this is such a practical advice, and it can just tell me that it comes from experience and just working on so many jobs that that you can simplify it that much, right? Like when people are starting out, they're making such a huge deal. And I feel like one thing that's adding to it, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't hate school. That's a very strong word. But the reason why I am not in support of the school system, the current school system, is the traditional school system, is that they make filmmaking so sacred, right? Like, I mean, I was telling my little brother, I'm like, before you touch the camera, like you have to freaking pray 5 times a day. You have to do this and that and the other thing, and then learn the rain dance and then make the rain happen. Like you have to do so much to even get to a point where you go, oh my God, give me this $1,000 camera and let me see what it can do. They'll ask you, do you have a script? Do you have an AD? Do you have an AC? Like, do you know what you're going to do? Which lenses are you going to be using? Like, why are you using this lens? And it's just like my little brother just picked up a camera, asked me, hey, bro, how do I use it? I'm like, here's the, you turn it on here, you hit record here. The dude in 4 years blew up and created a YouTube channel where he has 640,000 subscribers. And I'm sitting here just going, hey, bro, am I ready to like make some YouTube videos? Like, you think like I'm ready for it? You know what I mean? And it's like that attitude when I see your work. So going back to, at the end of the day, it's about making beautiful images. Oh my God, dude. One of the best things I've seen from you or anyone on planet Earth. Like when I talk about the clean white look, I mean, that's what I think of. So let's talk about what is happening. Like, is the car matted? Like, did you just get like a freaking, you graded car differently than the freaking environment? How did you achieve this, dude? And is it done in Davinci Resolve?
Yes, so everything I've always worked on Davinci. This was in Davinci. It was shot on Red. And I remember their creative direction was basically, the car is futuristic. We want kind of a metallic futuristic look. And we played around with different options, but eventually this is the one they settled on. And to achieve it, I basically isolated all of the trees and the plants in the background, desaturated them, and then created an outside node, isolated the snow, and also desaturated that, and then created another outside node. And that one, I pushed the blue. So it's basically isolating the different elements, making everything black and white, and then pushing artificial, blue in there to kind of give it all that one tone.
What's beautiful here is that somebody can look at this and be like, this must have taken like 80 nodes, like, and this and that. And I know it was complicated. I'm sure it had like intricacies and like nuances that what makes it what it is. But how you explained it, this gets to tell me how much thought that is going into it, you having a conversation with the creative director and then jumping in and bringing in your experience. And that's one thing that I try to promote to people, that guys, before you just you can jump in and start experimenting. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. That's how you learn. But once you get to a certain point, like time, equals money. And then you have to be like calculated, meaning like, okay, this is how I need to approach it. Let me build this, like that thing that I know that might work. And then like, let's see if I have to add 1 or 2 additional nodes. Like how you attack this is like a freaking sharpshooter. You're just like, boom, boom, boom. Got that. Dude, it's one of the coolest looks that I've seen. And another thing that I want to talk to you about is, dude, something like this, right? So once again, like, let's go back and throw the oldies in the mix. Like, you create a sky like that and you show it to an old colorist and he'll take your color grading license from you, right? He's like, what are you doing? The sky never looks like this. So talk to us. What is happening? Is this you? Is it the artist? Is it just like something that you just got inspired and you had to do it? This is really cool.
So this was actually, the sky was actually not me. The sky was VFX. VFX artist Ryan Zumelin. He did the VFX sky replacement on that. And I just keyed the bus and made it blue because they wanted to match his album cover, or like the cover of the song. But yeah, the sky, that was all VFX.
Dude, it's so good. And how often, because the thing is, I am loud and proud about, like, I'm not a VFX guy. I have people that I will send it to if it's like a dire need, but most of the time when the clients will come to me, they'll have their own VFX department. They'll be like, Qazi, do you want the VFX, like elements now, or do you want to work with them later? Like, what's going on? But for you, do you actually dive in and do heavy VFX, or no? You just pass on?
I only do it if it's something that I could do within Resolve, or if it's something that's super simple, I could just throw into After Effects really quick, and a lot of beauty stuff, painting out certain objects. But I try not to do anything complex. I'll leave it to Ryan to take care of that. He anything I do that has VFX, he takes care of it.
Okay, that's amazing. You have that team. You create. And then there's so much variety, dude. When I was going through trying to pick some things, like I was just going through and I'm like, you're creating so many different palettes. And yes, like the creative people will bring their own vibe. Yes, there's art design, there's costume design, the set design, all those things come into play too. But do you have like, what's your, coming up with inspiration? What's your process? Like, is there anything special? Like, do you watch a movie, pick out frames, or what is it? Do you take a walk? Like, how does it work?
It's mainly, for me, I love still images for movies. For me, that's the best, because for me, a lot of times when clients describe what they want, a lot of times they're not really speaking the exact language that helps me, get the big picture. So a lot of times I'll tell them, just, pull stills from your favorite movies that you think encapsulate what you're trying to, tell with the look.
Love it.
Send that to me, and as many, the more stills you send, the better, because then I could look at the contrast level and kind of average out, okay, what do all these images have in common, and that kind of helps me get a sense of what they want. And that's honestly it. I'll look at the references, and I'll play around with the footage. For me, that's the most important thing, because sometimes people will want to like get on a conference call and talk about it before I even touch it. And I always tell them that helps me. That does nothing to improve the look.
Okay, that's great. Yeah.
Because we could talk about still images for days, but unless I could get my hands on it and play around with it, And so that's typically my process at the beginning. Always just looking at references and then trying to understand it.
No, dude, it's and so many times when I'm jumping on a project, and if it's not coming from, let's just say, an agency, my vetting process is what you just said. Like, you know, if somebody were to tell me like, hey, Qazi, can we just jump on a call real quick? I'm just like, okay, this person is probably green.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they just don't know what they're looking for, because it's really easy. Somebody can tell me, hey, bro, give me training day.
Yeah.
Like, I'm looking for that. Give me that vibe in 2020. What is that to you in 2020? Like, let's go create that. And then I can come up with something. Like, Book of Eli might as well be Saving Private Ryan of its time. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They took that and built like a bleach bypass and then added some color and then pushed those colors. Like, they did all of that, you know?
Absolutely.
So that is something that's very important. How crazy do you get with like OFX in Resolve? Do you go nuts?
Not too much. The main ones that I use pretty much on every project is I use OFX grain to get some film grain. I use glow a lot. Every single shot of every project I work on has some kind of glow at some intensity. And then film convert and neat video. These are my like go-to tools in the OFX that I always use.
It's like you're working on my system, man. Oh, what's crazy is that John, you know, who's the founder of Film Convert. I just like recently we talked and struck a deal. So like I'm getting 30% off for all my FCM members, like my masterclass members, and 10% off for all the non-FCM members. And that's because he reached out to me a while back, but I'm like, I gotta play with it more, because I'm like rocking "Don't Be a Lut Bitch" for so long that I'm like, you know, and then I try to explain to people, because people freak out, right? I put out some tutorials and it uses a LUT, and like people are just like, Qazi, what's up, man? You're like all things like, don't be a LUT, you're using LUTs. I'm like, listen, I just tell you guys, please don't buy a LUT from like, you know, a LUT dealer down the street. Don't buy a LUT from a LUT dealer down the street, as long as you're getting reputable LUTs.
Exactly.
Film emulations, because it's really hard to create that film DNA without a film emulation, like negative, right?
Right. I mean, it helps a lot, and like anything, LUTs are just tools. I think there's nothing wrong with using them. I use quite a bit of LUTs, but I try to use them. It's like the look first and then the LUT second.
Yes.
You throw it on. Sometimes I'll put 5 different LUTs all blended together at different intensities. Sometimes I won't use any LUTs at all. It doesn't really matter how you use them, or if you even use them a lot at all, as long as you understand that the final, what makes a polished image is not the LUT that you used. It's basically just the technique and the, you know, the process and what's right for the image.
Right. I want to talk about, like, I think you're one of those guys that makes the skin effortless. Like, you create such a like, you have such a distinct like style, you know, like your looks are like really pushed. But when I say pushed, I mean in the best way possible. I don't mean it like pushed, like, like what am I looking at? But the skin just looks like it belongs. Like, you know, not just the skin. Like here, I'm even looking at the side of the light, you know, on the car, the headlight, and it just, even that is looking proper. Like it's like you're giving me anchors that this is what it looks like in real life. Then you can mess with my mind all around it. You know what I mean? So it is there like a skin node juice LUT, you know, or like a way that you go about it, or is it just like your process, like you're building a look, you know, you're isolating the skin and then going about it?
Nothing specific, just for skin, but overall, what I'll do is I like to isolate the skin with a layer node. So I'll have the skin at the bottom and then the background at the top, and that kind of helps me give that more natural color separation without contaminating the skin too much. And that's kind of it. That's the main part. And then just having that isolated on every shot lets me kind of fine tune it a little bit.
Sure.
And I typically will always push, like my skin tones are typically always more on the orange side. Some people hate it, some people like it, but it's kind of my instinct. I don't know why, but I always kind of push a little bit of warmth in the skin.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. When I'm talking to beginners, people that are just starting out and are not, hyper focused on qualifiers, or actually I shouldn't say hyper focused. They're not, seasoned with qualifiers, because one thing that I'm going to tell you is that anytime somebody's using Resolve over, say, Premiere Pro, Final Cut 10, they're going nuts with, with qualifiers. Like I see their node trees and it's like some, blueprint from NASA. I'm like looking at it, I'm like, guys, what is this? And then the image is just cracked, out of control. And they're just like, yeah, Kazi, but we're just working with Red Dragon. If I was working with Helium, it would have been so much better. I'm like, dude, come on.
No.
Come on, dude.
No, yeah.
So one thing, like, correct me if I'm wrong when I say this, that is it for beginners, is it proper to tell them, like, I'm always pushing people, I'm encouraging them, like, hey, no qualifiers until you learn to use your lift cam again. Like, the color grading is so much about, like, LGG. Like, if you really nail that down, you can do some wonders.
Of course. Yeah.
Right?
I agree with that. I think understanding, because at the end of the day, of any look, any look that you create, 90% of the work is done with the primaries, basically.
Oh, I love
it's contrast, saturation. That's what makes up the image. The extra 10% is just the extra spice, which is just the, qualifying the skin, maybe doing some extra pops. But, I couldn't agree more. I think focus on understanding what to do, like have it become like secondhand to you. Like, exactly how to dial in the contrast, the saturation, get that looking right, and that'll get you 80% there. And then you could practice with qualifiers and masks, and that takes it to another level.
Dude, that's such permission. Like, coming from you, and I feel like more people need to talk about this, because, like I said, a lot of the times when people are following big colorists, they're showcasing their work, but they might not be always getting to the nitty gritty, showing their note trees and all that. And people cook up their own stories in their head. And I feel like I'm working really hard to unshackle it. I'm also working really hard to tell people, think of it as, like, just have fun with it. Like, please stop thinking about color science and get fascinated about it, or 8-bit or 10-bit, and put these shackles on yourself. Like, you can create amazing images with Sony A7S II if somebody knows how they're shooting it, compared to somebody that gives you red footage and just pointing it at the sun, and then he goes like, hey man, make it look like Ty Roth, and you're like, dude, come on. Like, you didn't give me anything.
I mean, and I think a lot of times also I think it's easy for all of us as colorists. I mean, we're technologists. We like that. We like the tech. We like the science behind it. But I think sometimes just the pursuit of, like, technical proficiency, just like keeping up with all the latest color science, with all the all the different stuff, can kind of, you can get too caught up in that, and you can forget what actually makes an image beautiful, which is just to keep things simple, keep things practical, and don't let the technology kind of overrun the creative part, because you can never catch up with tech. Like, things are changing consistently. Updates are coming out. You'll never catch up. But if you develop your eye, and if you become an expert in imagery, I feel like you'll add a lot more value to your clients. You'll be more desirable, and you won't be stuck kind of chasing the next best monitor, or the next, new LUT that came out. Wow. And I feel like all that is time wasted.
Dude, it's like, what I say is that becoming a tastemaker over anything else. I can, people are just like, oh, how did you get your monitor calibrated? I'm like, I'll pay somebody to come calibrate my monitor. No, I don't need to get a certification to learn how to be a color technician. I will hire someone to do it. Just give me something creative to do, man. Like, I mean, that's what I want to do. I want to make art, than worrying so much about these little things. Like, yes, it will help you. Basically, better equipment and everything let you be lazy. That's what it is. Like, if my
honestly, there's nothing wrong with that.
Right. Like, if I don't need my scopes. If my monitor is calibrated, I could just be like, I could be wearing glasses with a different tint, and I'll be like, whatever, dude. Like, it could just look fine, because I can trust this.
Yeah, I mean, and to be honest, speaking to that point, for the first 3 years of my work, I've graded a ton of projects, and it was on like a normal Asus monitor, and no one knew. And it's like, for me, it's like, if I could deliver all these projects and everyone is like, they're enjoying the product, and it's releasing online and no one's complaining, then that kind of says something about the need.
Oh my God.
Now, I'm not saying don't have a calibrated monitor. No, I think it's important, of course.
Yeah.
But I feel like for someone that's starting out, the pressure of needing to have the equipment is literally not important. Understand why things are done, understand, the different monitors, but be ready to just throw all that out and just focus on the work.
Dude, the best monitor is the one that you got. Like, this is what I tell people, and I feel like, I hate myself for saying that, because it's such an old brother, like, or a dad kind of thing to say. Like, people are just like, hey, Qazi, I want like a screen like yours, and I'm like, bro, listen, like, just work with what you got. And they're like, man. But it's so true, right? Because ultimately, I feel like so much is right here. People lose their mind when I say I use an iPad as a QC tool. And I see so many eye rolls when I say, I will take my iPad, because I'm going to get pixel peeper on you, right? I'm going to take an iPad and it's a little bit always on the cooler side. I take my iPhone and it's a little bit on the warmer side. When I say one is on the cooler, one is on the warmer, I mean, I've tested my brother's iPads, my wife's iPad, and the same model iPad. And they all sit on that little bit of like a magenta bluish hue, where the iPhone sits a little bit on the warmer, like a yellow hue. And I take these two and I put my image right dead in the center. And if it's getting there, then I pretty much dominated majority of the screens, because this is where people are going to be watching it, right? Like when
you're catering your you know. Yeah, it's like you're catering your work to the people that are going to consume your work, not necessarily to like specialists that are going to obsess over like the details. And I think a lot of times, millions of people that are watching content online, like you said, they're watching them on a million different screens, and you have different TVs with different calibrations. And if you're just creating in a perfectly color accurate environment, and you're tailoring your color decisions towards that perfect setting, then I feel like a lot of times it can get out and people view it on their iPhones and it doesn't look the same. So by doing those tests, I think it's a very valuable thing to make sure. It's kind of like you're QCing your work on all these devices.
It's some of the most practical advice that's coming from this live, because I'm being so serious right now. Like all these things that you're saying, people need to pay attention to, and people who watch it again, like really pay attention to what he's talking about, because I'm telling you, you can spend $30,000 on the BVMs and have all those monitors and getting paid $800, if you're lucky, from a client every once a week, like every other week or whatever, because you are not a tastemaker. Like becoming a tastemaker and knowing what's hot, like watching the show Dark, let's say, and then having the taste to actually be able to, one, pick that it's a really good looking show, two, be able to come up with a game plan to create something similar, and then throw your own flair on it and present it to the client. That is the thing that's going to make you the guy. That is the thing that's going to, make you $5,000, $10,000 gig, like whatever you want to get paid. So what Kinan is saying is like, it's actually blowing my mind, because the thing is, personally in my life, I'm always, when I talk to somebody that's accomplished more, have done more, I'm always looking for permissions, because to me, what's more important is that skill set and everything. Sometimes at a certain skill level, once you get there, it becomes irrelevant, because you know to get the job done. Then at that point, you're just like, Jill Bogdanovich comes in and goes, well, the way we created Joker's look is like, my dad developed this LUT, and that was the basic DNA.
Yeah.
And then on top of it, I did the, X, Y, and Z. And I go, got it. Like, makes sense. This is how, so it's always those permissions that you're looking for. But ultimately, you got to strip all these, like, things that we put on our, the mental blocks, right? That we're just like, we can't do this. Like the room is not 18% great. Like Kenan got that 18% great. Like I would have that.
It makes no difference. And I think, I feel like also there's, the way I see it, I see two different industries. I see the industry that Jill is in, and I see the industry that I'm in. And the two things don't really line up, because a lot of the stuff she was talking about in that workflow does not apply to me whatsoever. For me, the clients that I'm working with, they're all people my age and a little bit older. It's people, it's like they don't speak that language. They don't understand color science, and they shouldn't. I don't think they should, because the way they're coming up doesn't require that kind of knowledge. So I feel like you have to understand that, sure, there's a certain way things are done at the higher level with feature films, but at the industry that most people will find themselves in the freelance market, you're working on commercials, music videos, everything is fast turnarounds. You have to be nimble, you have to be creative, and you have to be able to just come up with ideas on the spot, even if it's not, proper. Like I've graded a music video once on Colorista in Premiere. Again, the client didn't even know about that, because it was, the tool was there, it was available. And it gave me everything I need, which is primaries and a little bit of secondary work. And then that gets you there, and it accomplishes the job.
Dude, it's like the way you simplify it is just amazing. Just one time I recreated a John Wick look and put it on one of the groups on Facebook. And I think this grandpa just had a heart attack. He's like, this is not how it was done. Like, it was done in light iron. And like, back in 87, like I used to hang out with this dude, blah, blah, blah. And he goes down like the whole way, like how light iron works. And I'm like, Grandpa, listen, I understand. First of all, you should be playing with your kids. You shouldn't be on Facebook. And two,
yeah, exactly.
Like,
if he's commenting online on the internet, that says something about where he's at right now.
Exactly, right. I'm just like, come on. So that's one. And I'm like, two, dude, I understand it was done in light iron. Like, great, good for you that you figured it out. Like, which company worked on it. But if I show this look to my wife, my son, or if I put it on Instagram and people go, oh my God, I want to learn this look, it's really cool. They don't care then to fly out to LA, sit in that, bay and pay, like you said, $1,500 an hour. And even then, nobody's going to teach you. These people are not teaching. They're like keeping it really close to their chest,
Yeah. I mean, and I think I understand their perspective. I mean, no one wants to kind of ruin their career or, downplay their accomplishment. I think maybe like the takeaway would be, it's like, always be open-minded to learn new techniques, and don't downplay what the new generation is doing. If they're doing something different than you, then maybe there's a strong chance that that's going to be the thing that's going to be the new standard. And especially with the time that we're in, where I feel like we're still kind of in the transition between film and digital. Like, I feel like there's still a large percentage of filmmakers that are still obsessed with the film look and want to kind of, stay in that realm. And I feel like until that completely goes away and we're only, embracing HDR, embracing digital, which is the future, in my opinion, I feel like this transition period where everything is possible, you could come up with your own techniques, your own way, and no one is you're not wrong.
Dude, this is, it's the ultimate truth. I want to ask you this. How often are you, because I'm assuming if you're working on music videos, commercials, they're still sort of like in that Rec 709 realm. So are you still in that world, or are you experimenting with HDR, or it just depends on the job?
HDR, not too much. I'm now just starting to get more into it. I haven't graded anything in HDR, but I think it's I mean, if all the content, like I think it's something like over 50% of the content, the new content on Netflix is now HDR. So that's, like, listen to Netflix. If Netflix is embracing HDR, that kind of says something about the industry.
Yes.
And I feel like the more we stay focused on emulating the film look, the more we're staying behind. And I know this is a very sensitive topic that a lot of people.
Talk to me, D. Yeah.
Like I get, I get why film is beautiful. I love the look of film, but I think if you want to create work that stands out and that lasts, and that people in the future want to look back to and emulate, you have to embrace the new technology, which is, HDR, rec. That's just my perspective, but I might be full of shit. I don't know.
No, dude. I couldn't agree more. I feel like we just kind of have to, when just like you said, basically listen to the big giants, what they're doing. So like if Netflix is embracing those codecs and formats, then like see what's happening there. Look at people like, as old school as like, say, Roger Deakins is, like when he's embracing the film cameras, and now he's talking about like, this is the new way. This is the new world. Even if you look at his Blade Runner, it has a very much like a 2020 feel. Like it has a modern feel, and he embraced it. Like I don't think it looks like film. Like I to my knowledge, it has nothing. It's not grungy.
It looks digital,
It looks digital as hell, and it looks so pristine and clean. You're like, man, this looks like 8K HD.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I mean, he's embracing the technology, and he's the GOAT. He's literally the best cinematographer out there, in my opinion. So listen to him. I mean, learn a couple of things from him. Yeah,
exactly, brother. So what's going on? Do you get time to watch something? Like, are you watching like any movies or shows right now?
Right now, I always have a hard time with this question because I always have Netflix in the background, so there's a million things playing.
Yeah.
But recently I watched Beasts of No Nation. It's kind of an older movie, but I just love the color palette on that. It was, all the greens were a pretty it was an interesting tone, and they did like an infrared look in one of the scenes that recently just kind of caught my eye. And I might, get kind of emulate it a little bit.
Hell yeah. And dude, it's such a good look because they did like, I feel like it's the skin tones in that movie are like might as well be graded by you, right? Like, I mean, they're so pushed on the other side, like, you know, that's where you're happy too, you know,
Sure.
and I see that. What a great film. And it was like one of the Netflix originals. I've been obsessing over Dark, man. Like, I've been watching. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't.
Dude, give this a shot, man. Like, just watch it through, and it is so out of control the way it looks. And I actually don't know, but on the Twitter, like, I follow the director, you know, who created the show, and I feel like he might also be coloring it. I don't know.
Wow,
Anytime I see him on Davinci Resolve, like, and he has this notary open, and I'm like, what is going on? Like, you know, what is happening there? But dude, it's one of those, I think when you watch it, you know, you and I can talk and we can crack the code, but I feel like they're using like some sort of film emulation minus the grain. So they're giving it a very distinct, like where the yellows sit right here and the greens sit right here, the Kodak film look, but then they're taking the grain out, so they're taking the grunge out and making it very like modern day look.
Yeah, I'll check it out. That sounds cool.
Dude, it's such a fun thing. So what are you? Are you a PC or a Mac guy?
Oh, PC all the way. I've been on PC my entire life, basically. So it's just, I know how to troubleshoot it. I know how to build the computer. I do like the interface of Mac, I will tell you, but I'm personally, I'm not, I think, you know, I'm used to it. It works great. It doesn't, you know, there's no need to change. But if the Mac is, if I need a computer, I might consider the new Mac Pro in the future.
Yeah. Oh, talk to me, dude. I love it. I love it so much. But no, I'm right there with you. It all comes down to that. And I think you just summed it up with that one line where you said that I know how to troubleshoot it. Like that right there, just period. Like if you can do that part, then yes, it's cheaper, like modular. You can do whatever the hell with it. So
absolutely.
You use Davinci Resolve. Do you have the mini panel or you have the advanced panel? Are you fancy for us?
I have the mini panel, and it works great. I really only use it for like, you know, curves, you know, the lift gamma gain and like serial parallel. But I use a lot of the mouse and I use a lot of the keyboard still. It's kind of, I got pretty quick with it and I've just stuck with it. I personally don't really see a need for the advanced panel except for that it looks really cool. But I mean, sure, it speeds things up, but I think 30,000, I could think of a million other things I could spend 30 grand on that would make a huge difference instead of just a panel.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm right there with you, brother. So let's get into it a little bit. I mean, you work on commercials, then you work on music videos. Do you want to talk about the contrast between these two worlds when you're interacting with the commercial people and then the music video people? Because one thing that I want to say before we even jump into that question, that dude, your attitude is perfect for this world. You know that, right? Like, I mean, you're so zen and chill. It's like, you're just like so zen, dude. Like just talking to you, you calm me down because you know, like I'm really intense. So it's like for me, when I'm on a job, I always have to get to your level to like not freak the F out, like, you know, not freak people out. But then I sometimes meet people that are at my level and we just freaking go. But I feel like I want to hear your thoughts on, you know, working with this world versus that world and what's the difference? Yeah, talk to us.
Absolutely. So like in the commercial world, a lot of the clients, because there's a brand, there's more people involved, there's agencies a lot of time, things get more, there's a lot more back and forth, there's a lot more discussion, a lot more nitpicking the images because, you know, you're trying to sell a product. So everything has to be absolutely perfect. So for that, a lot of times, I think being able to you know, communicate, amp myself up and be at that level that they're at, that's typically what I try to, you know, what's harder for me. But we're in the music video space, things are a lot more relaxed. People just kind of send you the files, you do your thing, you know, very casual, nothing. So with the music videos, it's more stress-free. When you get to be more creative with the commercial, it's more of like, you know, how do I get out of my comfort zone and actually take it, you know, just interact with people that are, you know, with a different perspective than me. So there are two different things. I like both, but I think this is kind of the space that I want to focus on, which is just short form content. Because overall, I like the you know, the flexibility that you get from it versus, you know, features and more studio work.
I couldn't agree more with you. Like, I mean, I just like to be one and done. Like I'm working on a commercial and I'm done tonight. Like I gotta go hard, and it's like with music videos, like I want to talk to you like how the time frame. I feel like it's all over the place, right? Sometimes, like one, I've never been hit up about the music video where they were like, "We need this done yesterday." With commercials, that happens all the time. But for music videos, I put my own restrictions, like where I'm just like, I have 10 hours to finish this, or I have 20 hours maximum to finish this, because I feel like, or you can just get lost, right? Like in so many directions you can go.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think with music video, well, for me, it's actually kind of the opposite. For me, music videos have always been last minute. People always hit me up like 2 days before, and I understand. I think it's mainly comes from the labels and the artists where they don't have their shit together, and like everyone in between has to deal with it. But I think, where with commercials, there's always they hit you up ahead of time.
Yes.
But they're just two different worlds.
Right. I want to ask you, are you like, I'm pretty crazy when it comes to screens in my house. Like there needs to be too many screens. I have so many screens that I have two big 65 inches, like sitting in my garage. Like I'll probably sell them, but like I just overstocked on screens. And they all need to be ideally flagship, and then I have the C6 like HDR 2000 calibrator, and I gotta get the colors right. I mean, that's just me, right? I'm a psycho, but then I end up watching things on my phone. So I want to ask you, do you have like a similar disease?
Yeah. For me, because I mean, once you watch a movie or watch Netflix on a calibrated OLED, there's no going back to anything else. So yeah, for me, I had all my monitors in the house calibrated, because you can't have the milky blacks or after watching something on the OLED or the Flanders. But yeah, I'm the same way.
Dude, you can't ruin your experience. Like do you watch Mindhunters?
Oh yeah, I love that movie. I love that show.
Dude, so good. So the new season was in Dolby Vision. I still had my old TV, from 2016 or something. So Dolby Vision was a brand new addition. It was almost like a firmware update, but it wasn't really native to that TV. Yeah. So I'm watching this show on there, like in Dolby Vision, and my screen is not calibrated. And dude, the colors were all over the place. I've never seen skin look that yellow. I know it's Fincher, so it's going to be a little bit toward that yellow. Yeah. But dude, it was so nasty that I'm watching it and I'm like, it's almost distracting. And I actually thought that they effed up until I got the new TV, got it calibrated, you know, and then I watched it and I'm like, no, I want to watch it again. It looks so good.
Yeah, no, it makes a huge difference, especially because like we know what to look for and we know what, we understand the process. So you can't really go back to that.
So brother, is there anything interesting that you're working on right now, like music videos or something that you maybe want to share something? You don't have to disclose it, but
nothing. I can't really say the names, but yeah, just like a few music videos, a couple commercials, nothing too crazy.
So how insane does it get for you? Like, are you at a point where, have you ever thought about like, I'm going to expand, I'm going to have like mini me's and then, like just run it as like a shop, like where I'm passing it on, like the work, because I feel like you must get tons of work, right? Like where you're always like overbooked.
So I already kind of do that in some way. Whenever I get, if there's any overflow with projects, I have other younger colorists that I like to work with. So I'll send stuff to them. I'm just trying to, for me, it's kind of an interesting question because right now everyone is kind of trying to figure out what's the right business model. I feel like the big studios are falling apart one by one, and they're scrambling to figure out, okay, what's the next model? And because the current model isn't really working for them. And I feel like every time I think about it, it just brings me back to the fact that the future is independent and basically a collection of independent artists having their own businesses, their own shops, and putting out content that way. I think that's the future. And I think like if you try to force any kind of model, you either have to take the power from the artist and just kind of keep him in the background like VFX.
Right.
But if you want to have the colorist have their name shown and have them take the credit, you just have to, it has to be independent. You can't have a shop, in my opinion, and run it successfully with while being creative and supporting the actual colors.
Right. Because I feel like the wine and dine days are, almost on their way out, because just too much is happening, man.
I'm not in the business of offering sushi and color sessions. For me, that's not really why I do this. So that motto, I think, is like it's going away.
I absolutely love you for it, dude. Oh my God. It's I work with agencies that do that, and it only adds so much more time because then, like, I worked, with a company, obviously not going to say any names, and they would take the clients out for lunch and get them drunk, and then the clients come back and they're just checked out, like
and they bill them for it. They send them the bill for the food and the drinks.
Oh, dude, like I'm talking tens of thousands of dollars. You're like, dude, what were you freaking feeding them? Like, it makes no sense.
It's kind of silly, but I mean, it's kind of funny that's kind of how it is.
It's crazy, dude. And I want to talk to you about this. Like when you're working with, because it looks like, the G-Eazy and Tyga and Justin, sort of like a team. So are you like the go-to person for multiple clients like that? And let me also ask you, what makes you that person? Like, I want to share it with people because there's so many people out there that would benefit from this advice, especially in the freelance business, because there's so much scarcity, right? Like, Kinan is going to take my client. Like, I can't tell him anything. Like, there's so much of that going on. So talk about, one, how do you become somebody's go-to guy? And two, do you have any tips for newcomers like that can, benefit from this?
Yeah. So for me, I mean, the way I've always thought about it is like, I've always looked at my career as kind of like a tree. And it's like when you're at the bottom, you're trying to you want to suck up as much knowledge as you can. You want to work on as many projects as you can, grow that network. And then every new client that comes in is like, think about it as like a branch on that tree. And then if you do a really good job for them, they refer you, and then you get sub branches and sub branches, and it just kind of exponentially grows. And like advice, I think if you want to sustain that tree long term, you just have to do things differently and don't care about how things are done in the industry. And it's like do things differently and then let others just follow. That's kind of been the philosophy I try to remind myself, and it's easier said than done.
Right.
But I think that's kind of where I try to think. And I think in terms of being someone's go-to, again, just do good work and don't let money ever be kind of like a barrier between you and your clients. I think if you can communicate to your clients that you're there for them, regardless of their budget, at any level, then they won't have to consistently think, okay, can I afford him? I'm going to try to convince him to take that job. They'll just know, okay, I have this project. Keenan's ready to take it on. I'm going to send it to him. And if you do that, I think in any field, that's how you become someone's go-to, is reliability. You want to make sure you're there for them at any time, whenever they need you, regardless of the money. And if you feel like someone's taking advantage for you, cut them off. There'll be other people.
Dude, you're sounding like you're 87. Jesus, I don't understand. It's like you're a vampire. This is your second lifetime. But, dude, what you just said, like, that gave me the chills, because ultimately, like, I live off of that mantra from Gary Vee, where he's like, your time is worth shit, right? Like, it's worth $0. Like, if you're not working, you're worth nothing.
Yeah.
And I didn't used to think like that. And I will tell you firsthand, I've burned so many bridges and I've lost so many good clients just because they were going through a tough time or a tough project, and they wanted me to like be there for them. And I wasn't, because I was trying to play a very square game. I'm like, no, like, it just doesn't work for me, blah, blah, blah. And now looking back, I'm just like, man, that's embarrassing. And there's so many people that make that mistake. I know some people firsthand that they reach out to me. They say learn color grading after, taking the master class, and then they're now landing gigs and they're complaining about it because they're just like, hey, college, I put in like 25 hours or like 30 hours on this job and it's only paying me this much. I'm like, dude, like you didn't even have this stream of income. Like you didn't have this skill like 3 months ago. Like, what are you talking about? Exactly. You should be paying them. Dude, this is not even a joke. Like when I work on something really massive and it's something really great, I just want to be like, I will pay you. Like it just makes me happy. Like,
just for the opportunity, for the experience.
Just for the opportunity, And dude, it's so important what you just said here. And I feel like if people do that, it liberates you as a creative to know that, oh my God, I can actually work on really big projects. Because what I'm trying to say is that, let's say you're here and you want to be right here and there's all this in between, but because you want to charge, $200 a gig, you're going to be stuck here.
Exactly.
if you just go, hey, let me do this for free and reach out to these people, now you
Yep.
do this, and then
Yep.
take Kinan's advice of like, that's the first branch that you just put in. Now
Yeah.
you're going to get sub branches. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And I think it's like every new referral is basically just a new stream of other referrals. And if you're trying to get from point A to point B, the fastest way to do it, like logically, is to just work on a ton of stuff. And the only way to work on a ton of stuff is you're not chasing the money. And I couldn't agree more with what you just said.
Dude, man, like, well, first of all, off topic, like after this, we have to figure out something to hang out. I mean, Jesus.
Oh, dude, we're neighbors. We got to do it. Yeah.
It's
I'm so happy to hear you're in Irvine. That's awesome.
Dude, it's crazy. I got some stuff that I got to return at the marketplace, like Bed Bath and Beyond. So I'm going to hit you up.
Yeah.
So the one question that I like to ask people that I like, what do you think of Joker? Do you like Joker?
Oh, I love Joker. One of my favorite movies, hands down. And I loved your interview with Jill and then with Lawrence. That was awesome. Dude. Yeah, that one of my favorite, story-wise, visually. I watched it 3 times with 3 different friends in the movie theater.
Yes.
That's how much I loved it.
Yes, dude. It is. This is my first 4K Blu-ray. Before this, I've never bought like a 4K. I don't know if they're called Blu-rays or whatever, but 4K DVD, I've never bought it. But when this one came out, I'm like, I'm doing it. I even bought a freaking 4K Blu-ray player, which sucks, but just for this. Because I wanted to show respect. Yeah. Also, if you listen to the interview, awesome people, right? Like so down to earth.
Yeah, very.
Right?
Yeah, I loved both the interviews. It was very interesting to just get that inside perspective, especially from a movie that I really admired and liked.
Dude, it's so crazy. So, are you looking forward to watching Tenet?
Yes, definitely. Nolan? When is it coming out? I haven't been.
I actually don't know if it's already out or it's coming out on like August 3rd or something like that.
Yeah, but anything Christopher Nolan, I'm gonna wait in line and watch that. I mean, he's one of my favorite directors, and everything he does, I think, is just a work of art.
Okay, so if you like Christopher Nolan, then I'm telling you, dude, like how he takes his timelines and just intertwine them, like put them on top of each other.
Yep.
So then you need to watch. I'm telling you, this is how I sold my son on Dark yesterday. He was standing right here. We were talking about Christopher Nolan, and he started talking about Interstellar and that scene where Matthew McConaughey is standing there and telling his old self, like, he's pounding, he's in the 5th dimension, he's pounding on those books, and he's telling his old self, don't leave, like, listen, Laura, don't leave. Dude, my little dude started crying because he couldn't even, he's like, dude, it was so emotional. And I'm like, dude, you got to watch Dark.
All right, I'll check it out. I'll watch it. I'm excited now. That's awesome.
I'm saying this. Okay, brother. So, I think you've given so much advice, man. But because you're so good, I want to take advantage of this moment. Like we're gonna hopefully, not hopefully, but I think we're gonna get booted in like 3 minutes. But I want to ask you. Let's end it on, your 2 cents for. Let's do an advice for not just beginners, but for intermediate people too, because I feel like so many people can get stuck in the limbo. Yeah. And your mindset is like up here, so I really want to take advantage of it. So I want you to share some. Drop some value bomb for people that are either starting out or like, what's your one advice? Like, let's just say, what's your kicking off advice for people that are either starting out or kind of stuck in the limbo? So you can answer it two different. Yeah.
I would say treat yourself kind of like as a business. And it's if you any successful business has marketing, there's research and development, and then there's innovation. And it's like, if you're just starting out, and you want to freelance, the best thing to do is to just put out work on Instagram. And if you want like the perfect example, just look at what Qazi's doing. It's like, come up with your own marketing strategy, come up with your own technique to play the game a little bit differently. Because if you have 10 colorists and all of them are just putting stills and nothing else, that kind of puts you in disadvantage, including myself. Like I look at you and it's so inspiring to see your fresh take at it. So market yourself, take advantage of social media, of Instagram. And second part, it's like research and development, learn, watch tutorials, watch the masterclass, learn from that, learn the techniques, learn the basics of how do you use the tools, because Resolve can be super overwhelming. There's a billion different things you could do. So just kind of understand the basics, market yourself, and then try to innovate, try to come up with a different technique, a different workflow that works for you and that makes you stand out to your clients, because at the end of the day, that's going to set you apart from everyone else.
Dude, so inspiring, dude. Like, I'm honored to have you here, brother. Much
Thank
love.
you, bro.
We gotta
Thank
hang
you so
out.
much.
Yep.
See ya.
Peace.
Bye.
I told you it was loaded with value bombs. Make sure to check out the free training. Link is down below. You do not want to miss this. If you're enjoying the content, smash that like button, subscribe to my channel for more awesomeness. I will see you guys in the next video.